History is more than dates and names, it's about people, their struggles, and the tools they used to survive. To truly understand ancient civilizations, we must examine their weapons which reveal their technology, strategy, and culture. The Persian spear and the Hebrew sword are more than just artifacts, they are windows into the souls of their respective cultures. Persia, a vast empire, needed weapons for massive armies and continental power projection. The spear was ideal, simple, effective, and symbolic of imperial reach. The Hebrews, often a smaller nation, relied on the sword, a personal weapon for close combat, reflecting their history of struggle and individual courage. These weapons connect us directly to the past, letting us imagine the weight of a spear in a Persian phalanx, or the ring of a sword defending a Hebrew city. They show how technology and tactics were shaped by geography, from the plains of Iran to the hills of Judea. The story of the Persian spear and the Hebrew sword is one of empires, kingdoms, faith, and conquest. In this exploration, we'll uncover how these weapons were made, who wielded them, and what they represented. We'll compare their designs, fighting styles, and the battlefields where they clashed. From the armies of Cyrus the Great to the defenders of Jerusalem, these weapons shaped history. Their legacy is a fundamental part of the human story, a tale of conflict and culture that still fascinates us. The spear and the sword are not just relics, they are enduring symbols of ancient power and resilience. By studying them, we gain insight into the values and struggles of those who came before us. Let's journey back and discover what these weapons reveal about the ancient world. The Persian spear, known as the Dori, was the backbone of the Achaemenid military. Its simple, effective design allowed Persia to equip vast multi-ethnic armies quickly. The spear's long, sturdy shaft and iron head gave Persian soldiers a reach advantage, while the metal butt spike balanced the weapon and served as a backup. Elite immortals carried spears with decorative butt spikes, signifying their status. In battle, Persian infantry formed dense spear formations, creating an almost impenetrable wall. This collective discipline was ideal for the open plains where Persia fought its greatest battles. The spear symbolized imperial order and the king's authority. As seen in the grand reliefs at Persepolis, it was more than a weapon. It was a tool of conquest and control, maintaining the Pax Persica across the empire. To see a Persian soldier with his spear was to witness the reach of the emperor's power. The spear unified the empire's armies, projecting strength from India to Egypt. It was the ultimate symbol of Persian military might. Through the spear, Persia's influence extended to the farthest corners of the ancient world. The Hebrew sword was born from a struggle for survival, not imperial ambition. Surrounded by powerful empires, the Israelites needed weapons for defending their hills, cities, and faith. The sword, especially the short, double-edged kerev, became a symbol of individual courage and the defense of homeland. Forging a sword required skilled blacksmiths and valuable resources, making it a prestigious weapon, often reserved for champions and leaders. In Hebrew society, a sword was a sign of status, passed down through generations, each bearing marks of past battles. The sword's significance extended into scripture, where it symbolized both divine judgment and deliverance. Heroes like David and Gideon wielded swords as instruments of faith and victory. The sword was more than a tool of war. It was a sacred object representing a warrior's strength and trust in a higher power. This belief gave Hebrew warriors formidable resolve against overwhelming odds. The Hebrew sword stands as a testament to faith, resilience, and the fight for survival. The Persian spear and Hebrew sword reflect two distinct philosophies of war. Persia relied on overwhelming numbers and collective discipline, with the spear as the perfect weapon for massed formations. Soldiers drilled in unison, forming impenetrable spear walls. Strength lay in unity, not individual skill. In contrast, the Hebrew approach was shaped by rugged terrain and necessity. Large formations were impractical, warfare was fluid, favoring ambushes and close combat. The sword excelled in these conditions, rewarding agility, skill, and personal bravery. Persian soldiers trained for cohesion. Their identity was tied to the unit. Hebrew warriors focused on individual prowess, footwork, and decisive strikes. Biblical battles often hinged on the actions of champions, highlighting the value of personal heroism. The spear was a tool of collective power. The sword, an extension of the individual. These weapons embodied the values and realities of their respective societies. Their design and use reveal the heart of two ancient cultures. Persian and Hebrew forces clashed in battles that pitted massed spear formations against defenders skilled in close combat. The Persian army, advancing in disciplined ranks, used archery and spear walls to overwhelm enemies on open ground. For the Hebrews, direct confrontation was futile. They relied on fortified cities and defensive tactics. In sieges, the long Persian spear became unwieldy, while the Hebrew sword thrived in the chaos of breaches and ramparts. Archaeological evidence and ancient reliefs show attackers with spears and defenders with swords in brutal, close-quarters combat. The Persian goal was to keep enemies at bay. The Hebrew aim was to close the distance and fight hand-to-hand. During sieges, Persian archers suppressed defenders, but once the walls were breached, swordsmen took over. These moments were about raw courage and skill, not grand strategy. The spear and sword became symbols of imperial order versus fierce resistance. Each weapon found its moment of dominance on the ancient battlefield. Their clashes shaped the fate of cities and empires. The Battle of Pelusium in 525 BCE, though not involving Hebrews, illustrates Persian strategy against fortified foes. Cambyses II, invading Egypt, faced defenders relying on strong walls. According to Herodotus, the Persians exploited Egyptian beliefs by carrying sacred animals, especially cats, as living shields. The Egyptians, unwilling to harm the animals, hesitated to fight, allowing Persian spearmen to advance with minimal resistance. Pelusium fell swiftly, demonstrating that Persian victories relied on cunning as much as force. The Persians studied their enemies' cultures, using psychological tactics to break resistance. This battle shows the Persian military was more than brute strength. It was disciplined, clever, and ruthless. The spear was their tool, but strategy was their true weapon. Such encounters reveal the complexity behind ancient warfare. The Persian spear and Hebrew sword were deeply woven into their cultures. For Persians, the spear symbolized imperial power, discipline, and unity, as seen in the grand reliefs at Persepolis. The spear was a tool of conquest and a symbol of the king's authority, enforcing order across the empire. For Hebrews, the sword was personal and spiritual, a symbol of justice, deliverance, and the covenant with God. In Scripture, the sword appears as both a divine instrument and a hero's weapon. The sword of David or Gideon was more than steel. It was a sign of faith overcoming adversity. The spear represented the might of a collective empire. The sword, the resilience of individuals and communities. These weapons became metaphors for the values of their societies. Their symbolism endures, shaping how we remember these ancient peoples. Through them, we glimpse the ideals that defined Persia and Israel. The details of these weapons reveal the ingenuity of their makers. The Persian spear's butt spike or sorotor balanced the weapon and signified rank. Gold for officers, bronze for infantry. Elite immortals would plant their spears in unison, creating a powerful display of discipline. Persia's logistical prowess enabled mass production of spears, with vast armories ensuring their armies were always equipped. This industrial scale was a key advantage over smaller kingdoms. Hebrew swords, initially of poor iron, improved as blacksmiths adopted advanced techniques, possibly from the Philistines. Some swords were case-hardened, making them more durable in battle. In certain holy wars, captured swords were destroyed as offerings to God, underscoring the religious context of Hebrew warfare. The sword was not just a weapon, but an instrument of sacred duty. These details bring the ancient world to life, showing the intersection of technology, culture, and belief. Though centuries have passed, the legacy of the Persian spear and Hebrew sword endures. The spear, symbolizing unity and discipline, inspired later military formations and remains a model of collective power. The sword, emblem of the hero, lives on in legend from Excalibur to lightsabers representing courage and justice. The Hebrew sword, forged in faith, reminds us that history is shaped by both armies and individuals. For historians and enthusiasts, these weapons are keys to understanding the ancient world. Reenactors and archaeologists connect physically and emotionally with the past through these artifacts. The spear and sword ground epic tales in reality, linking us to the struggles of our ancestors. Their story is one of technology, strategy, culture, and faith. The spear speaks of order and ambition, the sword of defiance and spirit. Studying them reveals how humanity has fought for power, identity, and belief. Their lessons remain relevant, echoing through history to our own time.